All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we're going to be talking about the most recent video that BMW M just posted on YouTube. And this video all but confirms that the next BMW M car is going to be fully electric. And I think this is huge news because obviously a lot of people are very excited to see what BMW does with their M cars every generation, but there have been a lot of concerns that they could be turning it into an EV or a hybrid. And with the most recent M5 launch, that seems to be the direction that they're going with some of their M cars. So I think this video is very telling, and it definitely looks like it's going to be a series. They called it episode 1. So it seems like, they're trying to soften the blow, and over time they'll share more and more information on the direction that BMW M cars will be going. But let's just go ahead and talk about what this specific video tells us and what we can kind of pull from the information they share as well as what they show so that we have an idea of what we can expect in the future. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. Now, this video is going to be referencing BMW's video a lot, but because they're a big corporation and I've seen them, send cease and desist to people for a lot less, I'm not going to actually post clips from the video in this one so I don't get copyright claimed or anything like that. But I will have a link to the video in this video description. So if you guys want to watch that, you can head over and check it out. But let's go ahead and talk about what they've shared with us, because I think this does kind of help answer one of the biggest questions people are asking. Is the next M3 and M4 going to be a hybrid, or are they really going full EV? And I think they pretty much confirm it's going to be an EV, and there are a lot of reasons why. Now, the way that this video is staged, it's kind of like a behind the scenes look at how BMW develops their M cars. And you can tell that this footage is very old by a couple things they show in the video. First of all, inside the car that they're driving, you can see it still uses iDrive 7, and that's old technology that's all but obsolete at this point. So definitely a video that has been in their vault for a while. But you can also see some of the other cars in the video that give a good idea of when it's released. For example, they have a BMW M2 that's still under camo. They have a new XM that's still under camo. The car that they're driving is a pre-LCI X7 as one of their support videos when they're doing their testing. And so based on when these cars are launched, we can kind of figure that this video was primarily filmed around late 2021 or maybe early 2022. So the footage that they're sharing is almost 3 years old. And they do highlight in this video that because this is such a big change in direction for BMW M, they wanted to give themselves extra time to really develop this car from the ground up and to get as much of the M feel into the car as possible. So they've started development really early, and they're getting testing out of the way so that they can put everything they need to into this car so that it feels like a true BMW M car. Now, from an engineering standpoint, they seem very excited about going in this direction, and they kind of explain it like a challenge that the engineers are looking at that they want to solve. Can you make an electric car feel like a BMW M car? And in their case, they absolutely believe they can. So that's the direction that they're embarking upon, to get an electric car to feel like an M car and take advantage of all the things that come with electric technology. So to start off with this development, you can see they're originally in Germany. They're basically working in a garage at their headquarters. They've got a bunch of cars scattered around. Some of them are up on lifts and stuff, and everybody's kind of working on them under the car, in the car. And then they head out to the test facility. And they actually mention it's in France, which I was kind of surprised by. I would assume it would also be in Germany, but maybe out in France they can get a little farther away. It's a little more secluded, and they don't have as many prying eyes looking for, what they're doing. So they head out to France, and they've got this test mule that you can see here. It looks just like a BMW i4 or like a 4 Series Grand Coupe, except in some of the shots you can see it's got the M4 and M3 front bumper. It's also got the ceramic brakes. So it's definitely not just an i4. It's basically dressed up to drive with the M4 drivetrain in a regular 4 Series Grand Coupe body. Now, they mentioned that this electric platform is going to be modular, so I anticipate there will be multiple versions of it, but this one specifically, it's definitely not finished. You can see in the trunk, they've got a bunch of control boxes and wires and stuff hanging out. Under the hood, it's the same thing, and probably this is just because it's a prototype, right? So they want to be able to access all these control units. If they want to change anything on the fly, they can easily plug into it, change it with their laptop, and get the performance or improvements that they're looking for. So they bring this car to France, they're on the test track, and they're driving it next to a lot of cars. You can see a lot of the footage has it driving next to an M2. I think they're just trying to reinforce that they are making sure this feels like a BMW M car. And a lot of you are probably like me, where you look as the F87 is probably one of the best looking and best performing or handling BMW M cars that have been made in the past 10 years. So they're driving it next to that and presumably comparing it to that to develop the dynamics that they're looking for. Now, they did say that they started with an i4 M50, so that's kind of like their base vehicle. But when BMW M reviewed it, they determined that it didn't meet their requirements. So they made some changes, including stiffening the body. They also replaced the subframes with custom subframes, and they're using different wheel and tire packages, all in, the direction of making the driving feel much better, making the car handle better, and giving it the dynamics that you expect from like an M3 or an M4. They also seem to highlight that they are planning on doing some real-time torque vectoring, because that's a really big advantage that they see coming with electric cars. And in this case specifically, they're planning on going with 4 motors. So you'll have a motor on each wheel, and for any time that you're putting your inputs in, it'll be able to calculate what each motor should do. So if you're full throttle and turning the wheel, it should be able to drift. If you're, feathering the throttle and trying to get around a turn, it might give a little bit more power to the outside rear wheel to help the car rotate. And it's going to, basically react to what you're doing. They feel like that's a lot better than a more reactive system where, you've got all these electronic computers and traction control systems and ABS and everything trying to catch the car as it slips. This way it'll be more proactive, so it'll predict what you want and give you the direct performance. Although I do think it's kind of funny that it seems like they're trying to make an electric car perform more like an analog driving experience, which we've had in the past, but I do understand as technology progresses, things are going to change and move in this direction. So they're going to give us that electric drivetrain, but try to give it more of an analog feel. That also confirms 2 things. One, of course, is it will be all-wheel drive, and 2, it will be fully electric. So again, for everybody that's hoping that there's a hybrid option, with 4 electric motors, 1 on each wheel, I don't see how that would be possible. There may be other BMW M cars that come with, hybrid options, but from this video, I can pretty much confirm they're saying the new M3 and M4 will be fully electric. This also highlights that it's not just another i4, because they specifically mentioned that the BMW M division looked at an M50 and modified it to make it perform like a true M car. And I know the M name has kind of been watered down a lot recently with all these M lights or M performance cars, whatever you want to call them, kind of being, pulled into the M division and saying that they're M cars. But here they specifically state that while the M50 is a great car, they needed to beef it up to make it perform like BMW M wanted it to. And then comes the big test, and you can see in most of this video, they're preparing for something called the board management drive. And it sounds like they're gonna have some executives come in and test drive the car just to showcase what they've developed so far and give them a little more confidence that the BMW M division can do this with an electric car like they believe. And so they're testing the car and driving it around, but you see like it kind of spins out, traction control or something isn't working properly. And they highlight that there's like, I guess, a compressor in the engine bay that needed to be tuned a little differently for the climate. So they start making some changes, they work that out, bring it back out to the test track, and now it's grooving, it's sliding around in the wet strip, and it's kind of drifting around in big circles and stuff. So I think with this, they're really just showing that they're putting it through its paces. They're not stopping when something fails and saying it's not going to work, but they're also pushing it to make sure that the driving dynamics are what you want. They're not just driving it from, one city to another and seeing how much mileage they can get out of the car. They're drifting it, they're sliding it, they're testing the traction control so that the car will really handle and feel loose when you want it to, but probably have grip when you want it to as well. They also mentioned that they did a lot of this development offline where they were trying to figure out what they think it should do, and they're working with all the systems to develop the software and how they want it to perform. But it's really key for them to test it in the real world. And when they do that, they find a lot of bugs and issues that they just simply can't do when working remotely and just typing things away on a computer. So they're really focusing on getting that hands-on time in the car to feel how it performs and making sure that it's giving them what they're trying to create. Now, at the end of this, they say that they can't share videos or the actual driving event. It sounds like they're saying they quote unquote promise they didn't take any video during the event because it's extremely secretive, and probably the feedback that comes from that is critical to what's going to be the next generation of BMW M cars. So we'll have to see if episode 2 shares a little bit more insight there. I don't know if that was kind of tongue in cheek or not, but they kind of cut it off there. Now, something interesting is I missed a video they posted about 2 years ago, but when I searched for this again, I found something else in the archive where they were driving a BMW i4 through an empty city, and while they were driving past a gate, this same prototype car was on the other side of the fence. And then they do this kind of top view from up in the sky, and the car does a full 360 in the middle of the road, like a 360 burnout, kind of like what you see with some of these EV trucks and stuff where all 4 wheels turn in different directions and it can do like a full 180 standing in one spot. So it further confirms that they've been working on this for a while. It also further confirms that it's going to have 4 electric motors that can each turn individually whenever direction you want it to, whenever you want it to. And they're just kind of showing that exercise. I don't know if the car will actually be capable of doing that, but showing that, it's using a system that could do that. And then at the end, it says, "We are M, the ultimate electric driving machine." So yeah, again, I think that all but confirms that the new M3 and M4 will be electric. Maybe it'll even come in a Grand Coupe model, which I know a lot of you guys would probably be excited about. I see a lot of the coupes kind of disappearing, so maybe the M3 will be the regular sedan and the M4 will be a Grand Coupe. Or maybe they're just going to add the Grand Coupe as an option. Time will tell. But I really, again, don't believe that this is just another i4. It's not an i4 M55 or M60. This is going to be the new M3 or M4. And BMW is warming us up for that announcement so that we don't all freak out at the same time. So more to come. Again, this just says episode 1. We'll have to see what episode 2 has in store. But if you guys want to hear me talk about this more, let me know. And I'm definitely interested to see what the next M3 and M4 are going to be like. And the more teasers we get, the better, because I just want to know now. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.